sat on a hill overlooking the city of Athens for over 150 years, and over the years it has gone by many names. Now known today as the Ridges, this massive Kirkbride Asylum fascinates people all over Ohio, all over country, and all over the world. And this is its story. Construction on the Athens Asylum began in 1868. The architect was Levi Schofield, who would also create the Columbus State Hospital and the Mansfield Reformatory. The asylum followed the Kirkbride Plan, a plan that included tons of natural light and air circulation. Asylums constructed under this design featured a bat wing design, flowing out from a center admin area. The Ridges was constructed of 18.5 million bricks, all of which were made on site. The asylum was completed in 1874, and according to the Southeast Ohio History Center, on New Year's Day, the asylum admitted its first patient, an 11-year-old girl who suffered from a seizure disorder. We now know that this is epilepsy. Treatments at the time, such as hydrotherapy, electric shock therapy, and more, were considered to be the best treatments available, although today we of course think of them as barbaric. And of course, the most infamous of all the treatments was the lobotomy. Dr. Walter Freeman, father of the lobotomy, would often visit the Athens Asylum to perform lobotomies on patients here. Now, the asylum was also vital to the city of Athens and was the biggest employer in the area. Many would be employed by the asylum, and in times of need, citizens of Athens would turn to the asylum, such as one citizen who came to work at the asylum after his general store burnt down. Now, the asylum would often be overcrowded, as in these less modern times, you could be admitted to the asylum for nearly anything. Some would even use the asylum for social control, getting enemies admitted, or even family members they didn't want anymore. And then with the rise of tuberculosis, an additional building had to be built for patients suffering from consumption. Over the lifetime of the asylum, thousands would die, with over 2,000 unclaimed bodies being buried across 3 cemeteries, and even more who were claimed by family and buried elsewhere. Eventually, a combination of new medicines, the Reagan administration, and the cost of upkeep will lead to many asylums across the country closing down, and the Athens State Hospital was no exception, as remaining patients were moved to a new, much smaller facility across the Hocking River. The Kirkbride building was sold off to Ohio University. It has since become known as the Ridges, and has slowly been renovated by the university for different uses. It currently houses offices, art studios, the police department, biotech labs, and the Kennedy Museum of Art, among a few other things as well. Not all of the buildings here on the complex have been saved, though. The old tuberculosis ward was torn down in 2012, and the hospital was torn down in 2019. Of course, for many, what fascinates them about the Ridges isn't its grand and unique history, but instead the legends that surround it. The Ridges have always been home to numerous myths and legends, from human experimentation to witches' circles in the graveyard, and many more legends over the years. In the year 2000, these rumors were made even worse when Fox's Scariest Places on Earth premiered its first episode, focused on Athens, Ohio.
According to the British Society for Psychical Research, the 13th most haunted place on Earth is Athens, Ohio.
The episode, which was called Satan's Dormitory, focused on both Wilson Hall and the Ridges. The episode presented many things as facts that were either misconstrued or flat-out lies. This wasn't the only time the TV show would do this. In a later episode, focused on the Villisca Axe murders of Iowa, producers claimed photos were of the murdered victims, although they weren't. It was also later revealed that an interviewed citizen of the town was actually a paid actress, and the crew also created a fake historical newspaper for the sake of the show. In October of the same year, Ohio University offered a chance to tour the inside of the asylum late at night. They even advertised the event in local newspapers across Athens. This footage by Chris Rawlings may be the last remaining footage of that night. At the last minute, the university decided to cancel the event, citing an unanticipated amount of people showing up to the old asylum. They used police to disperse the crowd, and no one was allowed to tour the building. To this day, the university does not give inside tours of the building. Another prolific rumor of the asylum is that there is a series of tunnels running beneath the asylum connecting different buildings. When interviewing a former asylum employee who worked towards the end of its operating time, he claimed to know nothing about tunnels beneath the asylum, but instead did offer the fact that the asylum has a sub-basement, or a basement beneath the basement. However, many have claimed to see these tunnels firsthand and even gone inside of them. In 2020, I was able to verify the existence of some tunnels underneath the structure, but to this day I have still not seen the sub-basement. Now, there is one final legend about the asylum that it is almost impossible to not mention. It is probably the most infamous legend of the asylum.
In 1978, a patient at the Athens Mental Health Center went missing. As the story goes, her dead body was found weeks later. It supposedly left a permanent stain in an abandoned office.
Margaret Schilling, pictured here, was a patient of the asylum. Like many patients, she had free roam over the asylum grounds. In December of 1978, she went missing, and despite employees claiming to have searched the entire asylum multiple times, she wasn't found until January of 1979. By then, she was already dead and decomposing. Legends say they found her naked, her clothes folded neatly on the windowsill behind her. After her body was removed, workers found it left a stain on the floor, and no matter how many times they attempted to clean it, it would not go away. Still today, the stain persists even as the building undergoes renovations. Photos have shown the university covering the stain with plexiglass to preserve it. There are many claims on how Margaret came to be locked in this room. Some claim that she didn't want to be found, or even that she was playing hide-and-seek with the nurses. However, none of these claims can be proven with facts. In 2018, when visiting the stain myself, I noticed how the door to the room she was found in locked from the outside, leading me to the conclusion she was accidentally locked into the room when the door shut behind her. While the stain is an infamous part of the asylum legends and history, it is important to remember that Margaret was a human too. She was a wife and a mother. Her death was tragic, and most likely preventable if the asylum had been properly searched like employees claimed it was. The Ridges is a jewel of not just Athens, but Ohio, and it is important that we teach its history in a way that is factual and respectful to those who lived here. I've been Austin, and thank you for joining me today.